Hello, welcome back to the toy room. Hi there! I'm here with my good friend Gumby, and of course a little earlier on we saw his pal Pokey. Hi Pokey! And a lot of boomers and beyond remember the delightful claymation shorts that we all saw on television when we were growing up. And in the 1960s, all across the country, there were all sorts of children's programs hosted by local celebrities. And in the Twin Cities area, one of these programs was called Lunch with Casey. And I remember very well coming home from Lincoln Elementary, coming home from school to have lunch and watching Casey on television. He would arrive every weekday on Track 11. And of course, he was a railroad man, and he had a sidekick named Roundhouse Rodney. And they would have little skits, and they would show cartoons. And of course, they showed Gumby. Gumby was created in the early 1950s by Art Clokey. But before Art Clokey did Gumby, he had done a short student film called Gumbasia. And it was a parody of Fantasia, the Disney film, and it had a great jazz score. So he showed this film to a producer, and the producer suggested that he make another one, but with figures. And it was Art Clokey's wife, Ruth, that suggested that he base a character on the Gingerbread Man. And green was Art's favorite color, so of course Gumby was green. And the famous point on Gumby's head is based on an old photograph of Art Clokey's father. Gumby originally aired on the Howdy Doody show, and it was very popular, and it got its own show. And then they created more episodes in the 1960s. During those days of having lunch with Casey Jones, we also had a club. It was just a few of the boys in the neighborhood, my younger brother Tom, and our friends across the street, Steve and Greg Gackstetter, and our other friend Tim Wilcox, and sometimes his younger brother John. And the name of our club was called the Big M Club. And the M stood for majority. We would sometimes take a vote as to what we would do, whether we'd go ride our bikes or play kick the can. And the club was sort of a quasi-mixed military group, and we would make medals out of paper and crayon and rags. And during the summer months, we would hang out in my parents' breezeway, and it would get hot as hell sometimes in there. And we wrote and illustrated our own books, and we had sort of a lending library. And I remember one time we spent some time looking around for a flagpole for a flag I don't think we ever made. One winter before our summertime club activities, that year for Christmas, Tom and I got a Gumby and Pokey puppet theater. And this puppet theater was basically a big piece of cardboard that's sort of accordioned out like this. I believe it was yellow and green. And it came with two puppets. It came with a Gumby, of course, and a Pokey. And this is the original Pokey that Tom and I had when we were kids. And this Gumby I picked up a few years ago at a toy show. The theater itself, of course, has long since been torn down. And that summer, it was decided that the club would put on a puppet show in the backyard. And I remember Tom and Greg going around with a red wagon. They were selling stuff. And the day of the big show came, and Steve and I were going to put it on. And I don't think we had much of a plot, but we did have some villains that were sort of variations on the enemies of Gumby and Pokey. And they were called the Cylinder Heads. And they were basically a tin can with a black sock. And also in the backyard, my dad had 4 apple trees, and there would be a lot of little green apples lying on the ground. So we gathered up these green apples and we put them out by the audience. And at the point when the cylinders came out on the stage, the audience was encouraged to throw the green apples at the cylinder heads. And I remember that happened, and they were throwing apples at the stage, and one of the apples, it hit a cylinder head on the edge of the can, and the apple stuck to the can. We had a lot of fun with the club, and we had a lot of fun with Gumby.
Thanks for stopping by the toy room.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by the toy room. It was good to see you. See you again.